Aquí, entre dos.
Mira Sorvino, muchas gracias por esta entrevista. Me gustaría preguntarle, ¿cuál es el motivo de su visita a nuestro país?
Thank you. I'm here as Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, and as a member of the Board of Trustees for the UN Voluntary Trust Fund for Victims of Trafficking in Persons, and we're having our annual meeting next week here at UNODC. So I'm here basically to really put focus on the plight of human trafficking survivors and victims, and to encourage the Mexican people to awaken their hearts and minds as much as possible to join us in this fight, which, just like in every country on the world, needs more help. We need all the fighters we can get to stop this terrible crime, which is destroying people right around us.
Precisamente sobre el problema de la trata de personas y de acuerdo a su experiencia, ¿qué le preocupa más precisamente como representante de un organismo como Naciones Unidas viendo esta problemática a nivel mundial?
Today I'm seeing my friend Carla Jacinto, whom I met here in Mexico City during the first Blue Heart campaign in 2010, when I had just been inducted as a UN Goodwill Ambassador on human trafficking. And she was a teenager at the time, and she had just been through 4 years of hell as a sexually exploited minor. And I want the world to understand the humanity of the survivors of human trafficking and how wonderful they are and how much power they have to heal and become these incredibly productive, self-realized members of society living out their God-given life rather than the one that was stolen, you know? I want people to see the human face of human trafficking and therefore mobilize and help them.
Ahora, desde su punto de vista como embajadora de buena voluntad de esta oficina de las Naciones Unidas contra la droga y el delito y la trata de personas, ¿cómo ve la responsabilidad de los gobiernos para atacar el problema de la trata de personas?
So it's sort of a twofold answer. One, they have to have strong laws. And I think most countries now, including Mexico, have strong laws. However, if a law remains a paper tiger and it doesn't get implemented on the ground much, then it doesn't have much impact on the victims of the crime. So governments need to make it their priority to fight this crime just as they would fight the most pressing social and criminal activities of our time. And I think that they need to feel that their constituents, that the voting public, really cares about their response to modern slavery, that they're going to vote for them based on their position on human trafficking and fighting modern slavery. And I think right now most government representatives around the world don't feel that pressure, and they need to.
De las principales víctimas de trata de personas, ¿quiénes son? Las niñas, los niños, las mujeres en general, ¿quiénes son?
So worldwide, over 65% of the victims are women and girls. So, you know, gender-wise, it definitely affects women and girls more, but boys are also affected. Boys are conscribed into many different forms of human trafficking, whether labor or sex trafficking. So we shouldn't ignore the male victims, but it's the most marginalized people. It's the people who suffer abuse in the home. It's the people who are migrants, who have no safe haven. It's the orphans. It's the homeless people. It's the people of sexual identities that are not accepted in society. They're people who have no safe structures around them, are very vulnerable, or who are just poor, just very, very poor people, or indigenous people, or people who lack the same advantages that other members of society have. They are the most vulnerable to a trafficker's snares because they see their vulnerability, either their need for money, their need for safety, their need for something, the need to move out of their war-torn country, something, and they take advantage of it, and they earn money on their backs, and they have no human feeling whatsoever. A trafficker has no human feeling whatsoever.
Usted menciona que las niñas y la violencia parte de en los propios hogares. Ahí, ¿qué puede hacer la sociedad contra la trata de personas y sobre todo también el problema de la pobreza extrema?
That is an enormous question, obviously. You know, that is also a question for the government, whether the government invests in anti-poverty initiatives, in ways to help build up impoverished communities with microloans and with organizations that help people put themselves back on their feet. I think, you know, social work that focuses on parenting and nonviolent parenting and providing children with a safe childhood is very important in terms of protecting innocence. But there are many ways in which Mexico, just as other countries, could implement training programs so that everyone in a a public-facing job could identify a potential victim. So that means people in hospitality and tourism. It means people in transportation, your buses, your trains, your airplanes. Aeromexico is doing a great job with a program that they have, but they're unique. Not many people are doing this. Schools, teachers, principals, they need to be trained in victim-centric, trauma-informed, know the signs of what a victim looks like, how to approach them, how to get them to self-identify so that they can be helped. You know, hospital workers, first responders, all of them, if they have this training, which exists, and UNAM has created these incredible training modules that can be downloaded, that you can bring them to your organization, your company, your employees, your unions, and ask that everyone become educated in how to identify trafficking when they see it, so that way you can start helping identify and pull victims out of it. But a number one thing that you can also do in terms of preventing sexual exploitation of minors is stop buying sex. So men don't buy sex because you are contributing to a worldwide economy based on misery and rape. You are making a marketplace for enslaved human beings, and most of them, the entry age is between 9 and 12.
Me gustaría preguntarle también la política del presidente Donald Trump de recortar los apoyos financieros a organismos como Naciones Unidas dificulta aún más el trabajo de este tipo de organizaciones.
So I think anytime you cut funding to organizations that are doing the work of the angels on the ground, helping very, very vulnerable populations around the globe, is a terrible decision. And I think Bill Gates just said that. Bill Gates says he's going to give up most of his fortune to fill some of the gaps that are created by the removal of USAID's help to all of these organizations around the world. And, you know, he said something about how he thought it was terrible irony to see the world's richest man killing the world's poorest children, you know, with Elon Musk cutting the funding to USAID. So of course, being in the humanitarian space, the human rights space, the trying to help people out of terribly precarious, horrible situations, any cut of funding is awful. We do have our own fund that I'm on the board of. It's called the UN Voluntary Trust Fund for Victims of Trafficking in Persons. We have Mexican recipients of the grants that we give, and tomorrow I'm going to see one in Puebla. It's called Antus, and it's a shelter for various victims of human trafficking, and I'm looking forward to exploring and amplifying their work, showing the world the good work that they do, and trying to get people also to donate more to this fund. Anybody can donate to the UNVTF. If you go on the UNODC website, you can find a donation link. No amount is too small. You could give $5. It doesn't matter, but you will literally be helping all of these NGOs around the world to help trafficking victims become survivors, become people with full lives again.
Dos preguntas ya prácticamente para finalizar esta entrevista. Me gustaría preguntarle, el caso Harvey Weinstein, ¿cómo le afectó a usted en su vida personal?
Well, he prevented me from being in studio movies for 20 years. He took away my leading lady years because in 2008, I rejected him for a third time, and the retribution was very swift. And I was supposed to be in Lord of the Rings, and then he told them not to hire me. And then for 20 years, if you look at my filmography, there is no major studio movie, 20 years. So I was in my early 30s and cut off. However, as my grandmother used to say, not every evil comes to destroy us. So in that time period, I had my 4 incredible children. I married my husband, and I became the advocate that I am today, working with the United Nations, partnering with all these NGOs all over the world, and then I became a vocal proponent of Me Too, even for myself. After years of being an advocate for other victims, I finally had the courage to be my own advocate, and there was a growth opportunity for me, even though there was a loss, and I would not trade my children for anything. And if I had stayed a very famous actress at that time, working all the time, I would not have had those 4 specific children. So, it's life is difficult for everyone. We all have our challenges. I think being a sexual assault and rape survivor, not by Harvey Weinstein, but someone else, has given me a special heart for the victims of sexual violence, domestic violence, and human trafficking. So I think it gives me a touch point where I can communicate when I interview survivors, and I try and be very sensitive to not re-exploit them or touch those really traumatic parts of them that will hurt too much after the interview. But, we all have to help each other.
Por último, sí me gustaría preguntarle o pedirle un mensaje para los ciudadanos mexicanos, las mexicanas. ¿Cuál sería su mensaje, precisamente usted como embajadora de buena voluntad de la ONU contra la trata de personas?
I know Mexican people are very loving. They love their families, they love their children, and if they could open their eyes and hearts to realize that there's this whole sub-economy beneath the surface, hidden from view, of people living in Mexico who are being exploited and destroyed, by human traffickers, whether it's cartels or whether it's mom and pop industries where parents sell their own children. It can be at all levels of society. If they can find that place in their heart to include those disenfranchised, girls and boys and women and men into that loving Mexican heart, and to fight for them, to really make their voices heard with the government, within their local organizations, within their church groups, within whatever they do with their spare moments of energy and time, to say, you know what? I want to fight human trafficking too. What can I do? And then come to the UNODC website, read about all the programs that are available for them to get involved in, maybe donate something to the UNVTF. As I said, any little bit helps. And if you have rich friends and private sector companies, ask them to donate a lot. It's the work of the angels, So I think we're put onto this earth to help people, not just to advance our own particular well-being, right? If some of us are unwell, then all of us are unwell. We all rise together. So I recognize that beautiful beating Mexican heart, and I know the more it knows about the suffering of human trafficking survivors, such as my friend Carla Jacinto, that I think you should interview her too, their hearts are going to break wide open, and we're going to have a lot more boots on the ground fighting this terrible crime.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aquí, entre dos.